Hello guys, this is Yuan. I mostly just share my experience about a new restaurant or a new place on this channel. But living on this planet means much more than that. And sometimes I do want to talk about those concepts and values that I think are bullshit. And I wish they could go extinct in the next centuries. So today I'm going to talk about filial piety, which I think is a big bullshit. Filial piety, which is also called 孝 in Mandarin, is the fundamental virtue in traditional Chinese and also in many other East Asian cultures. It means to respect your parents, elders, and ancestors. Filial piety has many extreme aspects that can be considered as inhumane. In the traditional Chinese collection 24 exemplars of filial piety, there are many gruesome stories like a poor man decided to bury his son alive so they could have food remain to feed his mother, but they ended up getting a vase full of gold. Of course, the concept of filial piety is not at extreme anymore, but everyone is still very attached to the other responsibility that filial piety requires. From washing your parents' feet to complete the school's required homework, to being asked to carry the family legacy when you are making decisions for schools, careers, and a marriage. So why filial piety sucks? Because it's a one real fucked up concept. The core values of filial piety are obedience, sacrifice, and obligations. It establishes a clear hierarchical power structure in the family and also in the society. Filial piety assigns people different duties based on their genders, ages, and positions. For example, age-wise, elderly have the absolute power, while the younger generation needs to engage into good conduct. Gender-wise, women are usually in assisting roles, giving birth and raising children, doing most of the home chores, and also assisting with husbands to fulfill his filial piety. Whereas men are the ones providing material support and carrying on the family legacy. At the same time, position-wise, daughter-in-laws are usually in the lower hierarchy because they're the outsiders coming into this family. You can see that this is a massive hierarchical system that uses stereotypical standards to define and categorize people, while neglecting the fact that human beings are much more than that. What makes this worse is that in filial piety, there is no absolute right or wrong about things. Because even if your grandparents or parents are wrong, it's difficult to correct them when you're in a lower position. Any disagreement or resistance might result in the shame of being unfilial, which can be seen as a serious sin in the traditional culture. This creates an ineffective and hypocritical way to communicate in the family. The lack of effective communication generates misunderstanding, and the misunderstanding creates distrust and even hatred. Now that we know all the obligations in filial piety, then what are the benefits to start a family? What connects all the relationship in the family according to filial piety? In fact, filial piety sweetens the relationships between family members by strengthening the power of materials. The logic behind the filial piety is parents provide material support for children and then ask them to pay the debt in return when they become adults. In the 24 exemplars of filial piety, younger generations who are filial in the end would get food, money, or a promising future. It represents that in traditional family relationship, love is not based on trust, mutual understanding, and respect, but on a material exchange. Dads provide material care while mothers feed their children, and the younger generations are obligated to repay for the food and care when they become adults. Because this powerful hierarchy is based on your personal relationship, many people make their decisions or build up families according to the elderly's willingness instead of their own. We are asked to sacrifice our personal desires and interests to follow authoritarian and dogmatic values and beliefs. By doing so, it inhibits our personal development, critical thinking, and independence. In the traditional culture, the inequality in filial piety also put women in a very disadvantaged position. Women are widely encouraged to sacrifice all their time helping husbands, raising children, and taking care of the elderly in the family. At the same time, some people decide to have children because in their mind, kids are their own possessions and an old age insurance. There is one classic Chinese old saying, 养儿防老, which means people raising children in preparation for their old age. All these wrong motives and values create fierce tensions and conflicts in many traditional Asian families. So why would filial piety be popular, and why till now it is still being promoted in many East Asian countries? In fact, filial piety as the big part in Confucian and Chinese Buddhist ethics was established in the background of monarchy regime. Lots of Confucius theories support monarchy's necessity to maintain the social order, which in return, it got highly supported by the government. As we can see, if one government is promoting the filial spirit, it's because it's good for its own longevity. This ideal pyramid structure is the key factor to maintain the political regime and patriarchy social system. Even till now, you can see slogans, speeches, or TV shows that address the significance of filial piety. Another reason is that the government is shifting the responsibility of elderly care to young people. Making China as an example, while the Great Society is increasing immensely, the Chinese government is under the pressure of building sustainable welfare system, providing nurse care and elderly care facilities to take care of the needs. Facing this social change, we can see that the Chinese government is trying to awake the traditional family bonding so that the younger generation is willing to put elderly care on their shoulders. In the end, I think we should talk more about love instead of being filial. Love is all about communication, mutual understanding, to be supportive and to be respectful to each other. But filial piety is all against that. It was created for controlling, manipulating, and for government sustainability. It is the wrong direction for people who really want to get to know each other, and nobody should take prominence over any other people in the family, also in the society. So I do wish nobody will believe filial piety in one day, because it's all bullshit.